Well, it's now time we go straight to the dailies and see what they have for us for this awesome Monday morning. The beginning of another awesome new week. And indeed, we'll definitely be looking at the dailies as we usher you into the lovely program that will be on Viewpoint today on Atlantic TV. Well, anyway, for review today, we have 6 papers. We have The Punch, The Vanguard, The Guardian. As much as we'll be looking at the Daily Sun, the Daily Trust, and The Nation, we'll be wrapping things up. But you know I always enjoy starting with The Punch. And let's see if we'll just go through the normal routine. On The Punch this morning, the lead story reads, federal government budget 1 trillion naira for empowerment, SUVs, amid rising borrowing pressures. And riders to follow, allocation exceeds combined budget of 7 key federal ministries. Over 70 to 2,579 empowerment projects have identified location, says tracker, and economists question spending priorities, demands accountability. But if you want to get more, page 2 has more of that story. Opposition split over single candidate to challenge Tinubu is also a screamer on page 32. But let's see if we take some other leading story. APC drafts Omisore into 276-member Osun governorship campaign castle is also on page 32. Federal government raises varsity workers' hazard allowance to 480,000 naira. Wow, that would be a very cheering one for them there on page 8. Obasanjo role in Obi Kwankwaso ticket sparks row. And you can understand why that's on page 9. Hoodlums evade Osun INEC office, cut away PVCs. It's a disturbing one on page 32. Fake agency scandal. Real rep drill accountant general today. And you can understand more of that drilling on page 8. But the picture of the day is people queuing to receive meals from a charity kitchen on the Mugazi camp for Palestinian refugees in central Gaza Strip. And that's on Sunday. Well, you know, they're still going through a whole lot. But anyway, that's the much you can take from the Punch. Let's quickly run to The Guardian and see what The Guardian has as a major one also on its front page. And on The Guardian this morning, the lead story reads, how weak budgeting culture aids graft, poverty, ghost allocation. And well, anyway, we're talking about overlapping budgets. And come on, that's quite disturbing on page 6. Budget Office explained PFIPC's appropriation as BMO denies Buhari link to scandal. And you can understand why that is on page 3. Oye 6 CBN intervention says Nigerians paying over 300% interest on digital loan apps. It's a major screamer on page 3. Electricity subsidy hits 1.78 trillion naira as got debt near 1 trillion. It's also a major one on page 3. Let's see if we take some others. Osun 2026, a court party raises alarm over arrest and persecution. It's a major one on page 7. And CPPE dismisses impact of US 12.5% tariff for Nigeria. And why that is so, well, I'll just tell you to grab a copy of Guardian, get that on page 5. Gunmen adopt Kebbi High Court judge, killed 3 in Benue. It's also a disturbing story on page 9. Military rescues 48 adoptees in Zamfara as ISWAP finance chief surrenders in Brodu. Well, anyway, we got wind of that story just yesterday, but you can get more of it on page 9. And voter registration closes amid concerns over access election credibility. It's a screamer on page 6. And remember, I'll be looking at these later on the big one. We're talking about dialogue. We'll be looking at it as we also look at the state of the nation. Olodo, your pride, or someone urges you not to glorify ignorance and indifference. And you do know the Olodo issue is still on the front burner, but we can get that up on page 7. The picture of the day is more of a graphical representation of how weak budgeting culture aids graft, poverty, and ghost allocation. Well, anyway, that's the much we can take from The Guardian. Let's quickly run up and see if we go to the Daily Sun. Well, anyway, it's not shining though. Okay, on the Daily Sun this morning, governors push for state police takeoff. And, well, we're riders to follow. Get State House of Assembly speakers to stand by for immediate concurrence. Express worry over effect of National Assembly annual break and electioneering. I hope to get quick presidential assent. And you can send that story up on page 6. Still on the Daily Sun, Enugu emerges Nigerian fastest improving state as Nnamani, National Assembly Caucus, hailed Governor Mba on page 6. And let's see if we take some other leading ones, still on the front page of the Daily Sun. Tracker raised alarm as federal government budgets 962.83 billion for SUVs and empowerment. Says allocation exceeds combined budget of 7 key ministries. And you can understand why that seems to be so on page 25. Move fast on AI or miss out, IMF tells Africa. Once delay could cost region 4% GDP boost. It's on page 2. AMCON puts MTEL up for sale. Our strategic investors says 165 billion naira recovered from debtors in first quarter, and you can, or first half, you can get that on page 2. Budget, federal government moves to appraise National Assembly members, approve implementation of 1 billion for each senators and 500 million for reps. Wow. Well, anyway, now you know why they're running there. But get that story up on page 26. And the picture of the day is that of the Benue State Governor, the Inspector General of Police, and Ochidoma, and others during a stakeholders town hall meeting in Makurdi, all because of the insecurity that seems to be ravaging that very part of the country. Well, anyway, that's the much we can take from the Daily Sun. Let's quickly run to no order, but Daily Trust as we look at more right here on the papers. And quite a disturbing one as a screamer there. How government adopted Kebbi High Court judge. It's a major one on page 3, and my heart really goes out to the family. But let's see if we take some other leading ones right there. Islamic board to spend 18 billion on staff. There's also a screamer on page 6. Soldiers selling uniforms to terrorists finally arrested. Yes, his name is Mohammed Yusuf. And we learned he was arrested between the border of Nigeria and Cameroon when he was trying to flee to Cameroon. And that happened yesterday. But page 7 have more of that details. Votes will count. INEC vows as voters registration ends. And remember, we're looking at that critically when we have a critical stakeholders join us on dialogue. But get that story up on page 13. And flooding, where is local government 82 billion ecological fund? It's a question, though. I came today and everywhere seems to be flooded. Well, page 4 more have more of that story. Ex-defense spokesman demands 250,000 naira salary for soldiers. It says cherry one on page 7. NDLA intercept 10 billion naira drugs at Lagos port. Wow. Always having fleet as it concerns dealing with the issue of drug abuse. But get more, page 41. 4 civilian GTF personnel killed in Castina. It's a disturbing one on page 33. But the picture of the day is that of the flood impact, and that will be indeed ravaging a whole lot of part of the Nigeria. And we're still looking at what happened to the almost 18 billion ecological fund. But anyway, that's the much you can take from the Daily Trust. Trust me when I say we need to run over to the nation and see what the nation has as a major one on its front page. Governorship, APC uploads Sharif Fadin Danladi, 25 orders, as Galadima Abubakar and Adamawa Bauchi candidates. Hands up, Yayi also listed. And you can get that story up on page 2. Let's see if we take some other leading ones. Senate, House of to harmonize decision on state police bill. It's a major one on page 4. Strengthen SWF framework, IMF tells federal government. And you can get more of that detail on page 37. First Bank urges sustained support for Nigerians' healthcare. It's also a major one on page 6. Nigerian African Development Bank partner on regional plan for Africans' mineral exports. Don't go away, but get more of that on page 37. Uzodimma Akpabio, Buni lead APC campaign council as PVC carted away in Odo Oti, INEC Collection Center, and Accord NEC, Adeleke adopt Tinubu for president. Well, Accord, okay. Well, anyway, get that story up on page 6. Obi, I am intolerant because parties lack ideology. And page 4 have more of a reason for that. Benue probes Mpox case. And page 6 has that. Orire, our rescue miraculous, says principal. And she's still having more to share on page 45. And the picture of the day is that of the Lagos State Governor and others at the Bangkok University at 20th undergraduate convocation at the universities in Ogun State yesterday, and he was giving an award. Well, anyway, well, sharing it is. Smile always. But anyway, that's the much we can take from the nation. Let's quickly run to the last paper for us to look at, and that will be the Vanguard newspaper. Obi Kwankwaso ticket, best chance of winning, says Babache Lawan. And riders to follow ex-SGF, not what's defining with response, says APC. Tinubu lacks capacity to lead Nigeria. Peter Obi promised to unite and also secure Nigeria. But get more, secure more of that news up on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Still talking about the Vanguard this morning. United States warns Nigerians with dual citizenship against traveling on foreign passport. It's on page 42. Atiku fought Tinubu borrowing spree amid 7.98 trillion naira oil windfall. It's a major on page 8. Terrorists adopt Kebbi High Court judge is also a screamer on page 6. Let's see if we take some other leading stories. Still on the front page of the Vanguard. Hardship, low awareness, threatening PPP. 92% of our account dormant is also on page 11. Soldiers should earn 250,000 naira monthly, says ex-defense minister on page 9. 2027 presidency, why we adopted Tinubu, Nomio, Adeleke, Accord party leaders are giving us more of that details on page 34. Court orders army to reinstate and pay 70 soldiers. That order you can get on page 37. But let's look at Mr. and Mrs. column. And Mrs. will always have a say. And when it's a wet day, why would you blame her? I said with a woman like me, what will a man be looking for in another woman? And you said variety is the spice of life. Well, anyway, before I start looking for variety, is that your final answer? And Oga had to scream out no.